There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. You wake up tired. You go through your day trying to hold everything together. You pray more, try harder, plive yourself to be better. And yet, something still feels off, like you are moving but not progressing, like you are doing everything right. But nothing is changing inside. I remember a season like that. I was doing all the right things, reading, praying, trying to improve. But instead of feeling closer to God, I felt more pressure, more responsibility, more weight, and the thought quietly crept in, maybe I am just not doing enough. But then I came across something Jesus said, and it did not add pressure, it removed it. Because instead of telling me to try harder, he gave me one simple word, abide. In John chapter 15, Jesus speaks to his disciples in a moment that is anything but casual. This is not a random teaching. This is one of his final messages before everything changes. If you only had a few moments left with the people you loved most, you would not waste time. You would give them the most important truth. And that is exactly what he does. But here is what is surprising. He does not give them a list. He does not tell them to work harder. He does not tell them to push themselves spiritually. He says something completely different. Abide in me. At first, it sounds simple. Almost too simple, but the deeper you look, the more you realize this changes everything. Because most people approach their spiritual life like a performance, like something they have to maintain, like something that depends on their effort. But Jesus describes something completely different, not performance, not striving, remaining. And once you understand that difference, the pressure begins to lift. Because maybe the problem is not that you are not trying hard enough. Maybe you have been trying the wrong way. Jesus explains it with a simple image. I am the vine. You are the branches. That is it. The vine is the source. The branch is the receiver. And the fruit is the result. Now think about this carefully. A branch does not struggle to produce fruit. It does not force it. It does not wake up every day trying harder. It simply stays connected. And if that connection remains, fruit happens naturally. That is the design. But most people reverse it. They focus on the fruit, trying to be more patient, more peaceful, more disciplined. And the more they try, the more exhausted they become. Because they are trying to produce something that only comes from connection. Jesus says something direct. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Not a little, nothing. That means all your effort without connection will always feel empty. So if you feel tired, frustrated, like you are doing everything but still lacking something, it may not be a lack of effort. It may be a lack of connection. So what does abide actually mean? It sounds spiritual, but it is very practical. It simply means to remain, to stay, to dwell. Think about the difference between visiting and living somewhere. A visitor comes and goes. A resident stays. And many people treat their relationship with God like a visit. They check in during prayer. They check in during difficult moments. And then they disconnect. But a branch cannot visit the vine. If it disconnects, it withers, and this explains something many people feel. You are not far from God. You are just disconnected more often than you realize. Like a phone that is not plugged in, it still works for a while, but slowly, it drains. And you start to feel it, fatigue, anxiety, emptiness. Not because you are failing, but because you are running on yesterday's connection. Abiding is not about doing more. It is about staying connected, not occasionally, continuously. Bringing God into your day, your thoughts, your decisions, your quiet moments, your stressful ones. Because the goal is not to reach God. It is to remain with Him. Here is where everything shifts. Most people think growth comes from effort. If I try harder, AB will become better. But Jesus teaches something different. Growth is not produced. It is received when you stay connected. Something begins to change naturally. Peace begins to grow, not forced. Real joy begins to appear, not temporary, steady. Strength begins to rise, not because you became stronger, but because you are connected to the source. This is what changes when you stop striving and start abiding. You stop trying to fix everything, and you start trusting the process. You stop chasing results, and you focus on connection. And over time, the fruit appears. Not because you forced it, but because it flowed through you. That is the secret. You were never meant to be the source. You were meant to stay connected to it. So if you feel tired, stop trying harder. If you feel stuck, stop forcing change. If you feel empty, stop looking for more effort and start asking a different question. Am I connected? Because everything in John 15 points to one truth. Your life does not change because of how hard you try. It changes because of who you stay connected to. You are not the vine. You were never meant to be. And the moment you try to take that role, you feel the weight of something you were never designed to carry. So release it. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the constant striving, and return to something simple. Abide, stay, remain, because everything you have been chasing, peace, joy, strength, clarity, it does not come from your effort, it comes from your connection. And the moment you stop trying to do it all yourself, is the moment everything begins to change, not instantly, but naturally, like a branch, connected to the vine, alive, and finally, at rest.